And we are back, folks, with another edition of the Michigan Recruiting Insider. And we pride ourselves with bringing the top prospects in the country onto the platform. And we're getting a lot of help from the University of Michigan because this spring has been exceptional in that regard, as they are having an unprecedented run of top prospects visiting their campus over this spring practice. Unbelievable has been the run. And today's slate of prospects is no exception. They have been setting a new bar as far as quarterbacks are concerned. A number of them visiting practice today. And one of the top quarterbacks in the land joins us on this broadcast today. Mr. Malachi Zeigler is sitting with us today. Malachi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Glad to have you with us, young man. And to watch your film is to watch a young man who seems to be mature beyond his years. Seems like you've had a lot of great tutelage and training. I like to hear about a young man's journey to see how you've gotten to that level before we start talking about recruiting and schools and all of that, to see how you got to this place. So let's do that. Let's talk about your growth in the game and talk about how you got started. So let's walk down memory lane. How did you get in the game? How did you start to get to this point where you are now?
Growing up, I'd say my dad didn't really want me to play tackle football, like dangerous, because all the concussion stuff's coming out. And so I had to beg him to put me in some pads. But it took a really long time to find a team that would accept me. And so we ended up none of the teams in my age group would just want me on their team because, I'm not known, I ain't been playing football for as long or whatever. So I actually ended up playing a grade up. And then that team didn't really play me. It's just kind of, I got thrown on their team. So I was riding the pine for a good minute. And so I'd say it really took about till middle school is when, it kind of started to take off in terms of, okay, if I really want to do something in football, we got to just force them, put me on the field, give them they have no choice but to play me. And so that's when, my father and I, we started working really and just, we chose quarterback. That's just what we did. And so started throwing the ball, finding some nets. My dad didn't play ball in high school. He didn't know a lick about it, but he found a way. He found a way to just put me around the right people. And so that it just kind of took off.
That's big time, Pops. That's big time. He said, hey, I'm going to do it. I didn't do it, but I'm going to figure it out. I hear that. So you said you had to beg him. How did you convince him? How did you finally convince him to let you do it?
Do what?
To play.
To play?
Yeah.
And just, you go out and put in practice and you just be better.
No, I'm talking about how did you convince him? Was it just persistence?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you
said, please, Dad, please let me play. Please let me play.
Well, at first he put me in flag football.
Okay.
He was like, okay, you want to do something, let's do flag football. I was actually out there with 2 left shoes. That's actually a real story. I was out there with 2 left shoes, and I went out there, and I was like, what is this? Because my mom had dropped me off, and I was like, no. So before she even pulled out of the parking lot, I was back in the car, take me home. Like, this isn't the football I see on TV. This is what I want to play. Mm-hmm. So we, I took a lot of begging, But yeah, they put me on.
And you stuck with it, man. And so quarterback is the hardest position, though, to play. I mean, it's the most cerebral. It's the most scrutinized, right? And so you chose the one that's the easiest to give up, too, because it's the hardest. And you stuck with it. So something about it hooked you. So when did you know, yeah, man, you said you had 2 left shoes and you wanted to go home, but you went back and something about it hooked you. So at what point did you know you were like, yeah, man, yeah, I want to do this?
In terms of quarterbacking, I'd say I decided to take football serious at the quarterback position and really, I want to be ranked. I want to get recruited highly at this position. Probably, I'd say after my 7th grade year, going into 8th grade, because it was to a point where, everybody around you like, oh, you're good and whatnot. And, my thing is, it's not about where you're at, but it's it's somebody that's across the country that's probably getting the same high praises as you at the same age. And, you know, I want to see where I stack up against them. And so you start putting work in outside of, you know, scheduled practice with the school, scheduled practice with your team. You start putting individual work in, trying to hone in on, you know, your own skills and things of the sort. And so that's just find camps, you go to camps, and you compete. And that's probably what hooked me, because I love to compete. So
yeah, man,
that's probably what hooked me.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. There's a separator when all the sort of physical traits, because obviously you have you're gifted athletically, but then you reach a point where you run into other guys who are gifted athletically too. So what's going to separate you from the other guys is that, are you going to put in the extra work? Are you going to work harder than that guy? Are you going to go to that extra camp that other guy isn't going to go to? And clearly you found that extra gear, that extra work that those other guys weren't going to go to. And so then you start to hit that level of performance where you start to perform at a higher level. So when was that where you started to see the results, where you started to catch the attention of schools and receive, you know, the looks from college coaches? Do you remember that moment?
Trying to think. All right, the exact moment. It was going into my freshman year of high school. We're somewhere in Texas, I can't tell you, but it's my, like, the first camp that's like an exposure camp, like guys across the nation are finna be here, and you just gotta ball. It was a prep red zone camp, and I mean, I went out there and I did my best, bro. We put our foot forward, and we were balling. They were, you know, because it's a lot of top names in your, because you know who are the top names in your grade. Like, you just know. So when you see, oh, so-and-so's gonna be here, it's like, okay, I finally get my shot to compete against so-and-so and see where I stack up. And the whole world's gonna be able to see where I stack up. And so that, I don't know, we went out there, we balled, and from then on, it was just, we're on top of it. We're getting out, but it starts to build that confidence, and then you just, I don't know. I mean, not much else to say about it. Not much else to say about it.
I hear that. And so that sort of that competitive drive that you clearly have, is that in everything that you do?
Everything.
Everything.
There's this video game called Block Blast, and my friend, his high score sucks. It's like 6,000. And I'm like, come on, dude, you gotta put your best foot forward. You gotta try. He's like, I'm not finna try this freaking video game. I was like, all right, let me see if I try. I put like 150,000. I was like, he was so tired of me, bro. He was like, you just can't be every aspect, but that's just everything in life. You gotta put your best foot forward, no matter what it is.
Gotta compete. I hear that. And so, you know, you get out there and you are striving and driving and rising to a higher level and performing at that height, and your game is clearly blossoming. And so when you see yourself now and you look at yourself, I want you to sort of evaluate yourself, break your game down. What do we see when we watch Malachi Zeigler on the football field?
That's a good question. I haven't been asked that one yet. I'd probably say you'll see competitiveness. You'll definitely see, you know, some frustration when things don't go right, and you'll see some enjoyment and some gratification when things go right. You know, okay. When you're able to put hours and hours of practice in for a week, and say you're studying a certain game plan, and you know if we motion this way or we set up in this formation, we'll get a certain look. And then you practice all week. We get this look, we're taking the shot. We get this look, we're taking the shot. You get in game, you set the formation up, you send the motion, you get the look, you translate to the receivers and whatnot, and you take the shot, and when it works, that has got to be the most exhilarating feeling on planet Earth. When you put all that preparation in and it works out. And so you'll see that competitiveness. You'll see some athleticism. You'll see some leadership. You know, this past season we didn't do the best, and so being a quarterback, being in that position, you're kind of seemingly the face of the team. And so in the sidelines, when the scoreboard ain't looking right, your teammates, the other sideline, their coaches, our coaches, not to mention the fans, all the media, they're all looking number 3. And so what number 3 is doing on the sideline? Well, I'm picking guys up. You miss a block, okay. You're not trying to miss the block. You know what you did wrong. Let's fix it. You drop a pass. You're not trying to drop a pass. You know what you did wrong. Fix it. And so you'll see some leadership in that aspect because, you know, I get amped up. I will scream every now and then, but I mean, I'm not perfect either. And so when I mess up, you'll see my teammates picking me up because it's just the way the game goes. That's just the brotherhood that we have. And so that's what you can expect.
Yeah, so let me ask it a different way because you just you evaluated yourself very thoroughly, and that was excellent. I want you now to give me a scouting report. Scout yourself like a coach or a scout in the stands would do if you were sort of breaking yourself down. Is there a player in college or the pros that maybe they would compare you to or that you try to emulate?
I'd say, I don't know, I'm not one, I don't try to be one player. I try to be the best aspects of many players to make up my own game. So I'd definitely say my biggest 2 assets are probably my mind and my poise. I can't think of a time where I was just, you know, visibly just dumbfounded or kind of perplexed in a situation. I like to think that, you know, I prepare throughout the week and throughout the duration of the season, mentally prepare that to when I go in on Fridays and eventually Saturdays, hopefully, that you know what you're confident in what you're seeing. And so I'd say my mind is probably one of my biggest things. And then poise, I just don't get rattled typically. It might be, you know, stunned, but I don't think if you watch my film, you'll never see a play where I'm just completely, like I said, dumbfounded in the situation. Along with that, I like to think my arm strength and accuracy are 2 things that kind of set me above a lot of the rest. My size, athleticism, the ability to extend the play, and then last but definitely not least, my leadership. It's something I've been working on a lot recently over this upcoming spring, and then workouts currently. I'm really trying to, you know, step more into that position because last year, you know, as sophomore, you got seniors that kind of step into a leadership role for you, and so you're not asked to do anything. But going into my junior year, I'll be that upperclassman that guys are looking for and looking for answers. And so I think my leadership is another great quality of mine.
Gotcha. All right. So now you sort of get into the recruiting piece of the equation. As you sort of dive into that, how have you sort of attacked that? Have you gone into it sort of looking for things as you go on the visits, looking for things as you start to talk to coaches, or have you gone in sort of just kind of inquisitive, kind of seeing what happens as you go on visits, you know, listening to see what coaches say as opposed to going into conversations or going into visits looking for things?
Well, you know, when you go to a visit, especially you want to cross the country, you have questions, you know, you expect to be answered. You're going somewhere because you can potentially see yourself at that school in that uniform and, you know, living the next 3 to 4 years of your life. And so when you go places, you're looking for things, yes, but you're also just kind of observing. You're seeing, you know, how do the players interact? Like, great example, we were just at the spring practice, and, you know, we're not just sitting there tapping everybody's shoulder, hey, do you like Michigan? Hey, do you like Michigan? You're just looking at guys, and they're happy to be there. They're enjoying the atmosphere. And so it's certain stuff, yeah, you have questions you want answered, and you have certain things you want to get out of a visit, but at the same time, you're just getting a feel for the environment, the campus, the citizens. the coaching staff, the everything about it.
I got you. So now, did you grow up a fan of any particular school?
I didn't really have a college preference or favorite team. You know, I was just kind of like, I just liked the game. I was always going for offense. Whoever's on, whoever has the possession of the ball, I want them to succeed that drive. So that's kind of where I was.
I got you. So now, with regard to Michigan specifically, when did you first start to hear from them? Like, how did they enter the equation with you?
Before last fall, I really got in touch with Coach Gogs, and we just kept the relationship going. We were, you know, having conversations and things of the sort. And then in January, Coach Lindsey came to the school, and, you know, we kind of got to talk and really just start to build that relationship. And then, you know, you get up today and really this whole weekend, and you just strengthen that relationship, and, you know, stay in contact with them. You talk. You don't necessarily leave them alone. You talk every day about not necessarily football, but just a lot of stuff.
So your impressions of Michigan, I don't know, did you watch them much this past season?
I didn't watch them this season. I did catch some games. Y'all went 8-5, which, you know, it's not a bad thing, but coming off a championship season, the mindset within the walls are y'all didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see this upcoming season.
Yeah, and specifically for a quarterback, you know, I said this to quarterbacks and receivers. They obviously didn't, you know, it didn't go for the passing game the way that quarterbacks and receivers would like for it to go. So how did that influence the way that you looked at them coming off of last year? And obviously they are looking at it, they got a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, so they're presenting it like, hey, we're going in a different direction. And I wonder how that influences how you look at Michigan now.
Well, I mean, Michigan's a powerhouse. They've always been a powerhouse. It's a historic program, and they've always ran the ball really well. And, you know, kind of the way I look at it, the two go hand in hand in terms of you got to run the ball to open up passing lanes. You got to effectively pass the ball to open up running lanes. They work hand in hand. And so, you know, not being as successful as you want to in the passing game, it can be frustrating, but I don't know. I guess I'm more excited to see how they bounce back this year in terms of harping on last year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But clearly, as the change is about, we're going to change the passing game. That's why Chip Lindsey is here. That's what they brought Bryce in for. And Mikey Keene, Jaden Davis, they're saying that they're going to advance that part of the game to catch up with where the running game is. And so I'm curious how that looked. Did it look like, as you watch practice today, that you could see some signs of that on the field?
Yes, absolutely. You can just see the quarterbacks they're dialed in, and when the passing play is called, they're executing consistently. The O-line, they're blocking. Always had a really good O-line here, but O-line's blocking, receivers are catching the ball, you're taking shots down the field, you're connecting, you're being consistent in quick game, intermediate game. It's all parts are clicking, and so, I mean, you're bound to be successful that way.
Okay. So your impressions of, you know, that's the Michigan piece and how it would influence you as a recruiter. I'm curious how you would connect or how you are connecting with Coach Lindsey. What's the connection like, the vibe like with him?
Coach Lindsey's a really good guy. Every conversation I've had with him, he's energetic. He's everything you look for in somebody that you want to coach you, you know. And you can just tell he's very passionate about the game, and he's very smart. And I think those are qualities that every coach should have, especially if you're coaching at the next level. But, I mean, I love my relationship with Coach Lindsey. I like to think that, you know, we're very close.
Okay. All right. And so you mentioned another coach that here at Michigan that you, other than Coach Lindsey, that you said you
Coach Sinagoga.
Yeah, so Coach Sinagoga. So what about What about him that has made that connection be stand out to you? What is it about him that has made you guys click the way you guys have?
Well, you know, it's just the consistency with it. We're always communicating and, you know, just hopping on the phone and talking about just life. And last night, I really got a chance to experience his way of coaching, the way he goes about teaching certain things and, you know, just evaluating and coaching. And so that was a really cool experience for him to kind of allow me to sit through that and experience that firsthand. And that's probably what draws me to him the most, outside of, you know, just consistent relationships. But the way he explains things and coaches things, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that obviously is just one component, though, the head coach. It all flows from him. So I'm curious your impressions of Coach Moore. Now that you've been around and seen him coach and had some interaction there. What are your impressions of Coach Moore?
Initially, when I walked in his office and I saw what he's wearing, my first thought is this guy's really down to earth. Mm-hmm. He wasn't wearing some extravagant name brand stuff. He was just dressed like a human. And so that was the way he talked, the way he conversed with, you know, my parents and I. It was very straightforward and human. He made a statement that, you know, he has 2 daughters and he has 100-something kids on the team. He has a bunch of sons and 2 daughters, and that really spoke to me in the way that he considers the team his kids. Mm-hmm. And so that was really cool for, you know, especially for my parents to see that and hear that. You know, that meant something to my dad especially, and he said that. And, you know, because you're sending, you know, I'm going away from home essentially, and you want to know that the village that's around your son, you know, is a village that's going to take care of him. And so I think that Coach Moore is the type of coach that's going to take care.
Yeah, and so you're able to kind of see Malachi, a guy who is in your shoes, kind of, you know, not saying you're going to go to Michigan, but kind of in the place that you're going to be a few years from now, in whatever school you pick, in obviously Bryce Underwood. So I'm curious, I heard that you know him. And so when you heard that he went to Michigan, I'm curious how that hit you. What did you think? Were you surprised that happened? And then number 2, what do you think of his decision to go to Michigan, and how did he look? I'm just curious what you think of how that all unfolded.
Well, you know, it was the scandal of the entire recruiting world. Everybody in the nation was tuned in as to, is he gonna flip? Is he gonna stay? You know, being from Louisiana, obviously, when he committed initially, you know, I was excited. He's gonna be down south a little more, spend some more time with him. But I kind of had a feeling he was gonna flip, just because he's from Michigan, and you know, you understand how much schools don't want in-state players to leave and stuff like that. But it was still kind of, when the news hit that he flipped, it was kind of a shocker, just because, you know, you knew how much he loved LSU. And so when he flipped, you kind of want to see what made him flip. And then you get to campus and, okay, I see. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes sense. Hearing him talk, the way he talks about Michigan, the way he talks about the coaches, the players, the environment, everything. I mean, the food, everything he talks about is just, it's a different type of love that, I don't know, he may or may not have felt at LSU, but he knew that he felt it here. Mm-hmm. And so it may not make sense to everybody, but if it makes sense to him and it's working for him, then, you know, I'm all for it.
All right, so let's wrap it up with talking about you. When you get ready to make your decision down the line, do you already have an idea what the biggest factors are going to be for you?
I'd say probably the biggest factors, relationships are huge for me. It's just who I am. I like being able to talk to people and, you know, just spend time with them. I'm a big quality time guy, so just spending time with guys and coaches, and that's big for me. On top of that, I'd say other things are like, the way the coaches coach, how they interact with the players, how the players respond to that. Because every coach doesn't coach the same way. And so there are different coaching techniques, different coaching styles that may or may not work for individual player. And so I think it's huge for, a recruit to be able to find that coach and that style that works. On top of that, it's just got to be a good environment. You go to a city and, outside of football, you got to be able to thrive. You got to, you're going to have to go to classes. You're going to have to be able to find something you major in that you want, you're interested in. And so I think it's a bunch of factors that pile up on top of each other until you've built your mountain on where you want to be.
Do you think, because I heard you a moment ago, you said, hey, Bryce is from Michigan, teams don't like their guys to leave the state. For you, do you think distance from home is going to be a factor?
No, I don't.
You don't think it's going to be a factor at all? Not even a little bit?
I don't think it'll factor that much. I keep teasing my parents, but they're moving wherever I go. They're going to stay with me. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they're going to be with me. They're gonna just because I know them and I know how they are. They're probably.
So wait. So let's pause for a minute. So they told you that they're going to move, or you're saying that they're going to?
I'm saying they're going to move. I'm saying no matter what they might tell you behind closed doors, they will be with me. I just know how they are. Been living with them for 16 years. They're just going to be with me. And so I won't. My parents, that won't make me homesick, and my brothers, they've always been supportive. They haven't necessarily been at every function just because, they have their own lives and stuff like that. But, everybody in my village back home, they're supportive. And, if I were to move away, they wouldn't think twice. They'd probably come up here and be with me every now and then. Mm-hmm. And
So, you've obviously been here to Michigan. Now, have you been to a lot of other schools? Like, how many other visits have you been on?
Early this spring, we hit up Alabama and Mississippi State. And then a few weeks ago, right before OT7, we went to Oklahoma. Okay. And so after this weekend, we'll also be at a few places like USC, and we'll hit up A&M and, just places like that.
So now, as you talk about style of play, are you really looking at, because you got the basketball on grass, wide open types of offenses. You got the power spreads. You got the pro style offenses. How much are you weighing that into your equation?
Well, eventually that'll have to be a conversation that's had. Just do you think you fit in that coach's scheme, and will my game translate? But I believe the best players are able to adapt, and I believe if you really trust what a coach is saying and what they believe in, and you buy into it, I feel like you can fit in any scheme.
I got you. Okay. All right. So last two for you. Your biggest takeaway from your time on Michigan's campus.
My biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway. What is you like the most? The thing that you're going to take with you the most from this experience here in Ann Arbor?
That's a tough one. I'd probably say the hospitality. As soon as I walked through the doors, it was just a sense of family. You walk through, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's not just cordial, but they're smiling. They're happy to be there. They're dapping you up. People I've never seen a day in my life, but they're calling me by my first name and stuff like that. And you're hugging people and you're dapping everybody up, and it's just love all around. So I'd say the hospitality, for sure.
Okay. And I want to give you the opportunity, like I have all the other guys who have come through here. Your support system. You said my dad didn't know a lick of football.
Oh my
gosh. He learned the game. He learned the game. Just so you could be a quarterback.
We like to say that he graduated from YouTube University.
Just so you could be a quarterback. They are taking you all over the country so you could be a quarterback, supporting you in your dream. They are helping you on this journey to do what you want to do. No, none of you get here yourselves. So this is your opportunity to shout them out for grinding with you. And so I'm gonna let you do that right now.
Well, initially, first and foremost, I gotta thank God. He's been God. I mean, without him, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today. I wouldn't be breathing. I wouldn't wake up in the morning. So, as a child of Christ, I truly believe that, without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. And then I go into my parents, and they have been phenomenal. I mean, it's just every step of the way, and the things they do for me, and the sacrifices they make that I know about, and the sacrifices that I may not know about, that they just find ways to get it done. And then the people they surround me with, my dad, he likes to say that it takes a village, but you got to make sure it's the right people in the village. Mm-hmm. Can't just let everybody village. And so for him to really, both of them, to surround me with the right people and instill in me the right mindset and how to find those people, it's been helpful in every aspect. My mom specifically, she actually had to let go of teaching, which was her passion, just so she could get me around the places and it not be, as tolling. And so for her to be able to do that and really buy into and trust, the future and trust what we're doing, that meant the world and more. And so I'm just thankful for them.
And you recognize it, man. That's big time. That's big time. See? You did great. You did great. And that's what this part of the interview is for. And you knocked it out of the park, young fella. So we appreciate you taking the time. Good luck. If we want to come down and watch you do your thing, give us a couple of games. We always need 2 or 3 that we can choose from to come watch you. So big games that we come watch you do your thing. What would be 2 or 3 games that we could choose from?
Okay, so big rivalry, is a school called Airline. They got a few top guys. They got Kenny Darby. He's committed to LSU, and he's actually one of my close friends. But that game is always intense. And last year we were up by 1 point going into halftime before just a dumb mistake, and they ran off with it. So that's a tough game for sure. Y'all really enjoy that. Okay. I'm trying to think. We play Peyton Houston, Evangel Christian Academy. That'll be a tough game for sure, just because we're all so close and the competitive nature, especially last year. It's just that's a different atmosphere, and if you come to that game, you'll understand. Okay. It's just one of those, you got to be there. So those are probably the top 2 games I'd show up to.
Yeah, and I didn't ask this, but how do you know Bryce?
So we train with Damian Williams, and a few weeks ago we actually trained together in Houston, and I mean it's different, bro. It's just something about it that when he throws it, you see him throw and he throws a route, and okay, now it forces me to elevate my game because my throw has to look like that. Actually, no, my throw has to look better than that. I'm just saying that right now.
Of course,
Bryce, Bryce, if you're watching this, my throw has to be better than what you just did. And so, I mean, when you can train with guys like that and compete, you can't do nothing but get better. And so, yeah, I mean, that's probably how I know him.
Malachi, it's been a pleasure, man. Can't wait to come see you do your thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Good luck. Malachi Zeigler, thanks for watching another edition of the Michigan Recruiting Insider.